continuing in our lessons on 1 Corinthians 13, 4 through 7. And so we'll read that to start off. Love is patient and kind. Love does not envy or boast. It is not arrogant or rude. It does not insist on its own way. It is not irritable or resentful. It does not rejoice at wrongdoing, but rejoices with the truth. Love bears all things, believes all things, hopes all things, endures all things. Now, when we finish going through each one of these words so that we really understand them, I'm going to come back and deal with some of it in the context. The context is in chapter 12 and chapter 14, and there's some real lessons to learn about that. But that's not something that really bothers us as much today, so we're going through this first. What does it mean to us? It's easy that God, because remember, love is God, and love does not envy. It's easy that God does not envy. I mean, that's easy, because He's the supernal one. He's the eternal one. He's the omnipresent one. He's the omnipotent one. No one and no thing is better than He is. So, it is so easy for Him because He is the all in all. But it's not quite so easy for those of us that are human beings. It becomes a lot easier to us because we're not perfect like God. There is always going to be someone who is better, smarter, more good looking. And I could own all these things that somebody's always going to be better. And we don't like that. That bothers us. But before we go further, I want us to understand that there is a difference between envy and wanting to be better or do better. There is a difference. There was a book that was out many years ago, and honestly, it was a pretty dumb book. And the person took the point, and you ever hear of stretching something till it breaks? Well, he took it till it broke, and then beat it again and broke it again. And the book was called The Prayer of Jabez. And it ended up being, God will give you anything you want when you read the book. But the Prayer of Jabez is something I want us to look at to understand a little bit about envy. Turn to 1 Chronicles. If I can find that there. And we're going right in here. 4, 9, and 10. The 4th chapter and verses 9 and 10. I'll just start with 10 and go. Jabez called upon the God of Israel, saying, "Oh, that you would bless me and enlarge my border, and that your hand might be with me, and that you would keep me from harm, so that it might not bring me pain." And God granted what he asked. The way some people look at envy, well, that's a little bit of envious thing, but enlarge my borders, get me more. But it was okay. It's okay to want more. It's okay to pray for God to enlarge the borders of your kingdom. Whether that means getting a better car, a better house, getting a better job. It's okay. It was okay for Jabez, it's okay for you. It's okay to pray that God's hand would be with you and that he would keep you from pain. Now I'm going to deal with this a little bit more about what that is, but I'm going to tell you now what envy is, and it's going to give away my age, but envy is best described in the words of a song by Roger Miller. The name of that song is Do-Wackadoo. And the lyric is, I wish I had your good luck charm, and you had a do-wackadoo. Envy is not wanting something like somebody else has. It's wanting what they have and wanting them not to have it. That's what envy is. Envy says you don't deserve that. I want that. That's envy. Jabez didn't say, well, take a little bit of land from Joe over there and a little bit of land over there and give it to me. He said, I trust you, God, and I'd like you to make my life better. He didn't say, you do, and take away. He said, make my life better. That's a good prayer. That's not envy. It's not envy to want to have a better car. It's envy to want your neighbor's car and be upset that he's got it and you don't. Love is wanting people to succeed. Not envying means I want you to succeed. I don't just want me to succeed. I want you to succeed. I don't want to get ahead because you went behind. That's not love. Love says, I want what's good for you too. I want you to be good. Now, you know, some people, they sabotage other people. That's envy. But don't get caught up on that. It's not enough not to sabotage other people. We have to actively help other people to succeed, even if that means we're not going to be the one that gets the job. Even if that means we don't do all that, because there is a faith component to not envying that I think we forget, and it is there in the prayer of Jabez. How many times have we been told, be specific? When you pray to God, you be specific. You tell him what you want. You tell him what you need. Jabez was very general, wasn't he? And Lord, enlarge the borders. Be with me. Keep me from harm. And I don't want any pain. He trusted God enough to say, God, you know the best way to do that. You know how to enlarge my borders. You know how to keep me from harm. You know what pain I can take and what pain I don't need. And I'm going to trust you. The real root cause of envy is a lack of faith. It is an honest lack of faith. We don't think God will take care of us. So I don't want him to have that. God, I need this. This is what faith says. God, You've got this. Your plan is better than my plan, and I just have to trust your plan and put myself into your hands. I want you to turn to James, the 4th chapter. And when you get to the 4th chapter of the book of James, we're going to be reading verses 2 and 3. You desire and do not have, so you murder. You covet and cannot obtain, so you fight and quarrel. You do not have because you do not ask. You ask and do not receive because you ask wrongly to spend it on your passions. Why do you want what you want? Is it just for yourself? Is it to spend upon your passions? I've said many times about one of the elders in Stockton that I worked under. His daughter had been out of the house for many, many years. Just he and his wife, and every year he would go down and he would get a station wagon. Because any time the church young people needed to go somewhere, he handed over the keys to the station wagon. He didn't use it for his own passions. He was thinking, how can other people succeed? How can other people do good? And to me, that's the real key in the prayer of Jabez, is not asking for what you want specifically, but asking that God takes care of you. Isn't that what Jabez prayed for? Enlarge my borders, keep me from harm, keep me from pain. God, you know better than I do, but I really don't want to hurt. I don't want to get in trouble. And yeah, you know what? I'd like things just a little bit better. But I put it in your hands. I'm not going to enlarge my borders. I'm not going to keep myself from harm. And I'm not going to keep myself from pain. Because the fact is, we don't have control over those things. Even though we think we do, we don't. We just need to learn to trust God. Because once we trust God, we won't be envious of other people. We will understand that God has a plan for them, and God has a plan for me. God has a plan for you. And his plan for me is better than any plan that I can plan. His plan for you is better than any plan. When you look at your life and say, my life sucks, that's a lack of faith. It may not be what you think it ought to be, but God's plan is not for today. It's not for tomorrow. His plan is for eternity. I've told you many times that I love track. I've got bad lungs, so I'm not very good at it, but I love track. Let me tell you a story of a track star. His name is Roger Cunningham. A stove exploded when he was a young boy and burned his legs. The doctor said he'd never walk again. Life sucks. He got to walk. He learned to run. He was one of the first people to break a 4-minute mile. God had something in store for him that even the storms of life that he went through, God turned bad to good. That's what God does. God is in the business of fixing things.
That's right.
We human beings mess things up, and God fixes them. That's why we need to understand that we need to not envy. Maybe that person over there doesn't have to work. I don't care. God's taking care of me. Please be sensitive. I'm going to go off book here for a second just because I feel like it. Sometimes we say you're too sensitive. Things bother you that shouldn't. You know what? Maybe true. But that doesn't take away the fact that they are sensitive. You know, some people have a type of neuropathy that if you touch them, they're in terrible pain. You're just too sensitive. Yes, they are. But they're still sensitive. They feel it, whether they should or they shouldn't. They feel it. Some people are very sensitive about words, symbols, things. Let me tell you a story. My wife got in the car one day and said, "Home, James." And I had a holy terror fit. Never liked the name James. And when I was a kid, yeah, "Home, Jim, you're just a servant. You're just a chauffeur. You're a nobody." Should I have been sensitive about that? No. It's absolutely stupid and ignorant. But did that mean it didn't hurt? People can say that now because by her showing that she said, "I'm not going to do that anymore," it showed me that she cared about my pain, and that made my pain less. Just because something shouldn't hurt somebody doesn't mean it doesn't hurt. Some people are too sensitive, and sometimes we're not sensitive enough. We're like that guy that comes over and slaps you on the back twice when you have a sunburn. Don't be that guy. Don't envy. Love your neighbor. If you need to answer the invitation in a public way, you can come now as we stand and as we sing.